there's a strange kind of freedom hidden in the cracks of imperfection. A chipped mug that still holds warmth. A garden path with uneven stones that somehow feels more alive than polished marble. For too long, we've chased flawless living, perfect homes, perfect schedules, perfect selves, and in the process, we've built cages around our happiness. Today, we unmask a forgotten truth. Peace does not bloom in perfection, but in the raw, unpolished rhythm of life itself. This journey isn't about owning the least or mastering strict routines. It's about loosening our grip on possessions, on expectations, even on ourselves. Through the lens of extreme minimalism carried forward into imperfect living, we'll uncover how lightness comes not from control, but from release. Stay with me, because in the next few moments, I'll reveal 5 hidden ways imperfection grants us a quieter mind, stronger resilience, and a life lived with ease. True peace often hides in places our eyes overlook. The crooked shelves, the faded paint, the uneven rhythm of life that we're so quick to label as wrong. Our culture has conditioned us to smooth out every edge, to correct every mark, to polish until no trace of humanity remains. Yet, what if the secret to living freely lies not in fixing, but in allowing? When we pause to notice the chipped rim of a teacup or the scuff marks on an old wooden floor, we find not imperfection, but evidence of life lived. These details whisper stories of resilience, of endurance, of moments that were once vibrant and real. They do not diminish the object, they enrich it. The Japanese have long practiced the art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with veins of gold. The fracture is not erased, but celebrated as part of the object's history. In much the same way, our daily lives carry cracks, unfinished projects, messy relationships, habits that fall short of our ideals. Instead of concealing them, we can learn to see them as living proof of authenticity. Peace arrives not when the cracks vanish, but when we finally stop hiding them. Extreme minimalism has already taught us the value of less, of stripping away what doesn't serve us. But imperfect living goes a step further. It invites us to stop fighting the marks left behind by time and circumstance. It tells us that our homes don't need to gleam like showroom floors, that our routines don't have to follow flawless scripts. By embracing the irregular, we shed the impossible weight of perfectionism, and with that release comes a rare lightness. In truth, a flawless surface offers nothing to the soul, but a surface etched with scratches, softened by years, carries depth and warmth. Imperfect living reminds us that peace isn't about creating a polished stage, but about resting in a space where flaws and freedom coexist. And once you see beauty in the uneven, you begin to see freedom everywhere. We often measure our lives by completion, the finished house, the tidy schedule, the flawless career path. Yet in chasing the finished product, we overlook a subtle truth. Much of life will always remain unfinished. And perhaps that is where its true beauty rests. Think of the great cathedrals of Europe, some of which took centuries to build, many never reaching the perfection their architects imagined. Still, generation after generation found solace in their incomplete walls, gathering in spaces that were works in progress, not masterpieces. Our daily lives mirror those cathedrals. There will always be emails unsent, books half-read, goals half-met. For most of us, this unfinished state feels like a burden gnawing at our sense of worth. But imperfect living asks us to reconsider. What if the unfinished is not a flaw, but a space for freedom? An open door where possibility breathes. Extreme minimalism trained us to strip away the excess, but imperfect living softens the process further. It says, you do not need to tie every thread. You do not need to polish every surface. You do not need to complete every cycle to deserve peace. By loosening our obsession with closure, we create room for spontaneity, for play, for a gentler rhythm that honors life as it unfolds. Consider the quilt made from mismatched fabric scraps. No two pieces align perfectly, yet together they form warmth that a flawless machine-made cover could never offer. Our lives are much the same. The very gaps and rough edges hold the stories that make us human. To live in freedom, then, is not to complete, but to continue. It is to see each unfinished task not as a wound, but as a reminder that peace belongs to the living, not the perfected. And once we accept the unfinished nature of our journey, stress loosens its grip, and true peace quietly walks in. We are often told that a strong life is a straight line, planned steps, steady progress, unbroken discipline. Yet when we look closely at nature, strength rarely takes the form of perfect symmetry. Rivers carve jagged routes across valleys, trees bend under storms and continue growing in new directions, and mountains rise not as smooth peaks, but as rugged landscapes shaped by centuries of resistance. It is within these uneven paths that resilience is born. Our own lives, too, twist and turn. Plans derail, routines collapse, setbacks come uninvited. In those moments, it is tempting to believe that peace depends on regaining control, forcing the line back into perfection. But imperfect living offers a gentler lesson. True resilience does not come from rigidity, but from flexibility. A crooked tree still shelters birds. A river, though unpredictable, still nourishes the land. Likewise, we do not need to walk a flawless path to live meaningfully. Extreme minimalism already showed us how to cut away what weakens us. But it is in embracing the uneven that we uncover a deeper strength. When we stop demanding that every day, every decision, every effort meet a perfect standard, we allow ourselves to bend without breaking. We find patience in delays, humor in detours, and courage in the cracks of our routine. Consider the stories of those who built their lives through trial and error rather than straight ascent. The pioneers who endured harsh winters, the farmers whose harvests were uncertain, the craftsmen who mastered their art through countless flawed attempts. Their legacy is not perfection, but persistence. They remind us that it is the uneven path, walked fully and without shame, that builds the kind of resilience polished surfaces cannot hold. To embrace imperfection, then, is to embrace the unevenness of life itself. Peace arises when we stop demanding that the road be smooth and instead learn to trust the strength it gives us with every bend. The uneven path may not look perfect, but it will carry us further than the straightest line ever could. In our restless pursuit of progress, we treat stillness as wasted time. A pause in conversation feels awkward, an unproductive hour feels shameful, and rest is often disguised as laziness. Yet in nature, it is the pause that creates balance. The tide retreats before it returns. Fields must lie fallow before they bear fruit. Even the breath itself depends on the silent moment between inhaling and exhaling. Without the pause, there is no rhythm, only exhaustion. Our modern lives are built on constant acceleration, yet this endless forward push leaves us drained and detached. Imperfect living offers us a different lens. It tells us that peace is not found in relentless productivity, but in honoring the pauses along the way. To live imperfectly is to accept the gaps, the breaks, the moments when nothing appears to be happening. These are not flaws to correct, but spaces where life restores itself. Think of an artist who steps back from the canvas, or a musician who allows silence between notes. It is within the pause that meaning settles in, that beauty deepens, that presence takes root. In the same way, our own pauses, whether a slow walk without destination, a few minutes gazing out of the window, or a conversation unhurried by conclusion, are the spaces where peace quietly enters. Extreme minimalism cleared our surroundings of excess, but imperfect living clears our schedules of the tyranny of constant motion. It allows us to admit that not every hour must be filled, not every moment must be optimized. By doing so, we invite clarity, mindfulness, and a softer form of resilience into our days. The pause is not weakness, but wisdom. It is in these gaps of unpolished time that we reconnect with ourselves, with others, and with the natural flow of life. When we stop fearing stillness, we discover that peace is not something we chase. It is something already waiting in the spaces we overlook. There comes a moment, often unnoticed, when the excess of life falls silent, and what remains is not scarcity but rhythm, a gentle cadence of living in step with what is truly sufficient. In the wisdom of extreme minimalism and the quiet counsel of elder years, this rhythm reveals itself as the deepest form of abundance. It is the power of enough, not as a limitation, but as a harmony. For the elders who have walked through decades of striving, accumulating, and letting go, there is a clarity that whispers, more was never the answer. What endures is not the mountain of possessions, but the steady heartbeat of a life shaped by presence, purpose, and balance. In this rhythm of enough, time slows to its natural pace, unhurried and unforced. There is no scramble for what is missing, no grasping for more, but rather a trust in the cycle of days, the turning of seasons, the small acts that sustain. The room becomes lighter, the mind unburdened, and in that lightness, a deeper richness emerges. It is the richness of knowing when to stop, when to rest, when to savor rather than chase. This is not merely simplicity, but a profound attunement to life's natural flow, a surrender that brings peace, not through withdrawal, but through alignment. To walk in this rhythm is to understand that every moment carries enoughness within it. The elder who sits by the window watching the evening sun does not hunger for what might have been bought or gained, but finds a fullness in the very act of watching. The minimalist who sheds the unnecessary does not feel loss, but discovers that, in truth, nothing essential has been taken away. Together, they remind us that enough is not a threshold to cross, but a rhythm to inhabit. A rhythm where contentment is not a distant goal, but the ground beneath our feet. And so, as the echoes of elder wisdom blend with the discipline of extreme minimalism, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of a truth both timeless and quietly transformative. A life pared down to its essence is not a life diminished, but a life revealed. It is in this clarity that serenity takes root, not in having all that we desire, but in realizing we already possess what is truly vital. The elders show us that enough is not a compromise, but a liberation, and minimalism becomes the language through which that liberation is lived each day. If this journey stirs something within you, then let it not end here. There is a rhythm waiting to be discovered in every corner of your life, and deeper insights waiting across other stories. On this channel, you'll find pathways that continue this exploration. Whether it's entering the microtopia of spaces designed with mindful simplicity or stepping into the hollow era, where we question the illusions of excess and uncover what really matters. These playlists are not just collections of ideas, but companions to guide your own unfolding journey. So, take the next step. Wander into these other explorations, let them challenge and inspire, and allow them to reshape the way you see both the world and yourself. Because each video, each reflection, is another thread woven into the tapestry of a life lived lighter, freer, and richer in meaning. Your journey into simplicity doesn't pause here, it deepens.